Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rest and Rise podcast. I'm Emma,
I'm Zoe.
and we are here this morning to talk a little bit about how self-care changes seasonally. Because obviously, if you're listening in England, we've had a big change in the seasons recently. We've kind
We're
of
both
jumped
saying
up.
that.
Oh, well, it's not as bad as it was. We've jumped up about 15 degrees in the space of a few
I
days,
know.
haven't we? It's been a little bit crazy, and we've gone from like pitch black most of the time to suddenly mornings are light again, and we've got a little bit more light in the evenings, which certainly has made me feel so much better.
That's
Um,
fine, which I think
I
is just
know.
yesterday outside the whole day.
Oh, it makes such a difference, doesn't it? Such a
Mm.
difference.
I really realised that we were edging on spring yesterday because we've got a little outside light that's been on a timer all
Yeah.
over winter, and it came on in what I felt like was the middle of the day. And I thought,
Oh,
oh, the timer's broken. And then I went over to the switch and I thought, no, it's not. It's just 4 o'clock.
yeah.
Whereas, that's been dark all
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
winter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, I've got a small feeding child
That's
on me.
okay.
Very
That's okay. If you're
unpleasant.
listening rather than watching, you might hear some snuffles, but she's out of camera if you are watching.
I had a
Um,
rough night with her.
yeah, we were talking before we came on the joys of motherhood in all seasons. We've both had a bit of a bit of a ropey morning actually with
Uh,
our various aged children.
it never stopped.
Oh dear.
Never stopped. But yeah, we thought we would talk today about seasonal changes and challenges that come with the changing of the season. Which, sorry guys, I'm gonna put
That's
her high.
okay.
In we go.
Oh, there she is. There she is. Yeah.
Um, I feel lucky to still have the seasons like we do in England in a way. I mean, I
Yeah.
know we don't have like two um, harsh winters anymore.
Mm.
Well, sometimes we do, but and that maybe they're not as obvious as they used to be. But still, we definitely have those noticeable changes when it, especially spring. I always think that winter to spring and summer to autumn are just
Mm.
so
The
obvious,
really noticeable
and I
ones.
really love that.
Yeah, I do. I think I agree with you. I think we're lucky to still have such an obvious change in the seasons, as much as sometimes I fantasize about living in a warmer climate all year
Yeah, when
round.
it's always sunny and warm,
I
that would.
would I would miss it, I think. I would miss it. And I was actually listening to another podcast recently about how the wheel of the year is very seasonally based, and how actually if you are someone that celebrates things like Imbolc and the spring equinox
Yeah.
and all of that stuff, actually there is something to look forward to in each season. You have a seasonal celebration, which is really lovely.
I think there's a lot to be said for leaning into whatever that
Yeah.
season requires of you, and that's not something that we actually get the luxury of in modern Western lives. A lot
Mm.
of traditional Chinese medicine um, sort of aligns what foods that you're eating and how you
Yeah.
spend your time and what you consume in terms of what season it is to kind of leaning into, I don't know, the slowness of winter, or heated foods or certain spices. But a lot of the time we're working against that, and never more obvious is that than January for me.
Yeah.
Like, why is everyone all of a sudden eating like loads of raw food and juicing,
Yeah.
punishing themselves with loads of hardcore heavy exercise,
Mm.
and plunging themselves straight back into work, like new year new me, like got to
Yeah.
achieve all these things, got to give myself targets and goals. And I
Yeah.
know for some people that might work, but I know that that's kind of going against everything that our body should be doing in
Mm.
terms of the environment that we live in the UK, especially
Yeah.
at winter time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about this in the past, how actually, um, for us, that kind of right, New Year, I don't want to say resolutions, but for example, targets, goals, or the time to kind of really grow and change your lifestyle. For us, that actually begins in spring rather than the beginning of January. So for me now, the beginning of March, now is the time where I'm thinking I've we talked a little bit in our newsletter that just came out about how we're now making plans for what's coming up for Rest and Rise throughout the year, and personally in our lives as well, what we're doing to change and things we're putting into place, because those first couple of months in the UK certainly are for kind of withdrawal and hibernation and resting.
I felt really energized over the past couple of days, like, and that's it's not a coincidence. I think you're spending more time outside, you're spending more time in the sunshine, you've got that vitamin
Yeah.
D. And yeah, everything just seems a little bit more hopeful.
And waking up in the morning when it's light is such a huge thing for me as well. I'm not a morning person at all. And to wake up in the morning and it's still pitch black, I find really hard to get going. But waking up in the morning, whatever time that might be for you, for me, it's about 7, and it's light already.
Right.
It's
Yeah, and you might
such,
hear the bird song and you're like, okay.
yeah, such a different way to start the day.
How do
So
you find that your body reacts in winter?
it hates it.
Yeah.
It hates it. So, joking aside, I find, um, particularly now at this point where I am in my life, and I've spoke a little bit about I had COVID, obviously, a couple of years ago when the rest of the world had COVID, and I still struggle with some of the after effects of that. I get a lot of tiredness and aching, and I find that is so much worse from November to February, basically. It's really quite an obvious change. I really have to change my self-care routine and my day-to-day life to accommodate that, because it really physically affects me. I actually need a lot more sleep and a lot more rest time, and the cold really does make me ache a lot more. So that has to check, and possibly as well, I'm menopausal age, and
Do you feel like
that,
you can give yourself the rest that you need, like in terms of how you schedule your days or your weeks in with work and with kids and with other commitments? Or
yes and no. So for me, if I was in the situation physically that I'm in now, but in your situation with having young children, that's really, really hard,
yeah,
because just different needs. So because my children are both almost out of, one is working, one is at the very end of high school, so 17 and 19 years old. They are driving and quite self-sufficient. So the physical needs that they have of me are much less. So from that point of view, yes. I have my own business, and after COVID was forced to change the way that I worked to accommodate the um, long COVID, or whatever name we want to give it, those physical symptoms. I know I've spoke about that in the past. I had to change the way that my business ran. So for me, it has been doable in that I can change the way that I live my life. But um, having said that, although my work and my family can accommodate me, probably the pressure comes from myself, because like a lot of us, you have some guilt over taking some extra time to rest, or you feel like, for me certainly, like, even though my girls are both self-sufficient and can get themselves up in the morning and do everything they need to, I actually don't need to physically get up as early as I do, because I work from home and I can start later. So if I wanted to roll out of bed about 8:30, I probably could, but I don't. I still set my alarm for 10 to 7 so I can get up with them in the morning and just be with them. Like, they don't physically need me, but I just, for me, part of being a mum, even though they're the age that they are and they're still at home with me, I want to be with them in the morning, and to just, be part of their morning and wish them a good day, and all of that stuff. So I think that the answer is yes and no, basically, is the short answer to that.
yeah, it is hard, isn't it, when you've got people relying on you and
Mm.
external pressures. I know for everyone it can't be the January of hibernation or
Yeah,
but I think just adding little things in, I don't know whether it's like go to bed half an hour earlier,
yeah,
or screen time for me is a massive one. I've found that since having kids, I almost don't have the brain cells left to be able to pick up a book.
yeah,
It's like, okay, cool. And sometimes I'm watching the TV and I just find myself reaching
yeah,
quick dopamine hit on my phone,
yeah.
um, which always makes you feel worse.
Yeah. And the other thing with screens as well is everything is now on there. So
Mm.
even like having babies, for example. So when I had babies, I had a book with the weekly, now your baby's got eyelashes, now your baby's got fingernails, whatever. I had a physical book, whereas now, it's all online. I know I've got friends, I don't know if you use this, but friends who actually monitor their breastfeeding on an app online. So everything is like now geared up towards looking at your phone. And if we take it back to like a seasonal conversation, again, it's false light, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's instead of this kind of embracing the
amazing.
darkness and the hours that we have of daylight, we have overhead fluorescent lights, we have light from our phone, all of this stuff that is,
Messing our circadian rhythm, really, isn't it?
yeah, totally. Yeah.
I have obviously been what feels like been pregnant for about 4 or 5 years now. But I would definitely say that pre-babies, I would always notice how my skin would react. That would be the first organ to be
Yeah.
affected for me. It'd just be dryness or like severe dryness,
Yeah.
totally. And like just looking quite grey and ashen in the face
Yes.
immediately.
The curse
Um,
of the British winter, all of us
yeah,
just lose all of our colour.
dry, yeah, dry skin, dry
Yeah.
lips all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Even my hair feels really brittle.
yeah, and I just don't know really what I do to counterbalance that apart from try and drink. I mean, every morning I get up, I have a cup of hot water before I have a
Yeah.
coffee. Like that's like my little slither of like non-negotiable. And half the time I really don't want to. What I want to do is just be like straight into that flat white in the
Yeah.
morning and reap the rewards of having a caffeine shot with a baby and two toddlers to get out of the house.
Yeah.
But I do not. Oh, nice sick there. I do not stray from that. I'm like, I have to have that water in the morning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, God knows what would happen to my body. I think I'd just be a snake, just shrivel up and die. But yeah, then when spring comes, I find the adjustment from winter to spring quite an easy one.
Mm,
I find summer to autumn really hard.
mm.
I feel knackered at the end of summer. I think we were talking about this the other
We
day.
did, yeah, because summer is very social, isn't
I'm
it?
not
Because
like
it's such a small window of warm weather where we can really embrace kind of being outside, whether it's with friends or kids.
yeah. It's funny. I know loads of people get really like fired up by summer and they have loads of energy, the
Yeah,
longer day, which I might do. I don't really know. I'm gonna keep an eye on it this year.
yeah.
Um, but for as long as I can remember, I feel totally frazzled at the end of summer.
Mm,
And I'm touch wood, I'm not really a sicky person, even with the kids. I mean, we've managed to swerve pretty much everything this winter, which has been
yeah.
amazing. Pantomime next week with like a cold and norovirus and chickenpox.
Don't
um,
jinx it.
we've managed to really swerve everything. But without fail, I get a back to school cold
Yeah,
every September.
yeah,
Every September, it's just like my immune system goes, this is when you could be a little bit weaker. This is where you drop your
yeah.
guard. And yeah, just totally
What
flat.
would you say are your kind of year-round non-negotiables that maybe you adapt slightly depending on the seasons, but are kind of your, go-to, no matter where you are, no matter what time of year it is, these are the things that you have in place for you.
Hydration, always.
Mm.
I drink so much water, always have. Um, but that's not something that that's just something that I don't really think about. I just do. I always have a bottle in the car. I drink
Yeah.
loads of herbal teas throughout the day. Always take herbal teas to bed. Um, Probably shouldn't have as much coffee as I do, but that's
Mhm.
try and counterbalance that with drinking lots of water. But
Yeah.
that's definitely number one. Movement, which is trickier at this season of my life
Yeah.
because I've got this small one with me, but do you know, I read something the other day or watched something actually, which was an NHS advert for like getting your health monitored. I think they're doing this thing where you can put your scores into a website of like
Mm.
what you do in your day. And they were saying about movement and they were like, housework.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be like a sports club, like
Yeah.
you log your housework and stuff. And I thought that's so interesting because honestly, I do not sit down at home. I'm just
No.
constantly like rushing around the house, bending down, picking up washing, in, out of the washing
Mhm.
machine, like
Yeah.
hoovering. you don't sit down, you're just always on the go. And sometimes I'm really like, God, I've worked up a sweat there.
Yeah.
Um, so, but yeah, I do try and move, even if it's getting outside with the kids, which is like number one priority, getting outside
Mm.
in daylight with them. Um, and then if I can do, I work in a gym class or a
Yeah.
run. Um, and then just eating well. There's not a day that we don't have. Well, for me, I would say 8 to 10 fruit and veg. It's
Mm.
definitely not a five a day. It's an 8 to 10,
That's brilliant.
really. But then also eating loads of food that brings joy as well. Definitely
Yeah.
not restrictive eating here, but I just think as well as rather than instead of, like, I'd never
Mm.
go and have a biscuit instead of having like a, a dinner, or like, I'd never go and
Yeah.
have
I like
yeah
that. So you're not replacing, you're not thinking, oh God, I've had a couple of biscuits, so I shouldn't have,
have
you know,
breakfast.
shouldn't have my breakfast. It's
No,
okay if I'm gonna have something of a treat. It's alongside your,
you've got to have
healthier food.
all of the nutrients,
Yeah.
especially when you have young family, because you
Yeah.
need energy. And maybe if you're breastfeeding or um, up in the night, you've got to get
Mm.
that source of energy from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think that's it. And then dry body brushing. I know we spoke about that before. I try
Yeah.
and do that most mornings before I get in the shower. And also the thing that I've done this for probably 10 years now, um, is tongue scrape. The first thing I do in the morning, I've got an Ayurvedic copper
Yes.
tongue scraper.
Yeah.
I've done that for as long as I can remember, really. Definitely 10 years, maybe more. But
So
yeah.
for anyone who doesn't know, then this would be because I remember the first time I heard of this was on Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop
And
podcast years ago. And so talk us through exactly. So the science behind this is to remove
to
bacteria.
remove bacteria that's built up overnight. And it's a copper, kind of like a U shape.
Yeah.
And copper is naturally antibacterial,
Mm.
antimicrobial. Um, and you just get it from the back of your tongue,
Mm.
scrape, and then wash it off. Scrape. I do a couple of times, 3, 4 times,
Yeah.
just to remove anything that's built up on your tongue over the morning. And then I'll go to like clean my teeth.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it just makes you feel so much fresher, I
Mm.
think, if nothing
I
else.
think if you've got even just those little practices, like you've just said, a body brush, a shower, a tongue scrape, clean your teeth, drink your water or your herbal tea, already that's a setup for a good day, isn't
Yeah,
it? And I
totally.
think if you start well, then no matter what season you're in, then generally you feel like the day's, gonna
Yeah.
progress with good intentions.
I think as well, it's a lot about it's a lot about filling your time with things that you love as well. So like
Mm.
making sure that, I don't know, if I'm feeling a little bit a certain way, I know who to surround myself with. Like I know what friends I want to see, or
Mm.
I know that actually I don't want to see those friends and I shouldn't go to that party that, one day I might feel like going and it will be great. On this day,
Yeah.
I know that it's going to be too many people. It's going to be too
Yeah.
much. You know, depending on what kind of week I've had.
Mm.
Yeah, I think just spending your time with people that are going to give you what you need. Really, not in a sucky way, like
No,
just going to
no, but
drain
you're
everyone's
right. We've all
energy.
got friends who are like so fun and so energetic, and actually, sometimes that's exactly what you need. Sometimes it's not.
No,
And it's recognizing what you need, at that point, that day, or
totally.
yeah,
All right.
God bless. Well, I think Etta has done so well. I think, but I can see that she's wiggling around all over the place there. So why don't we call it for today? But that was actually really interesting. I thought that we were going to kind of talk, when we discussed it, we were going to kind of talk about how we use different things in different seasons, which we have. But we kind of also went off into a kind of Ayurvedic
As
little
always.
tangent there, which I love, which is good. So, thank you so much. I know, Zoe, it's a little bit of a chaotic time to try to do this when you've got a baby who's not asleep and you're trying to feed and
Yeah,
everything else.
honestly,
Um,
She would be fast asleep, but not today.
Yeah, of course not. Not today. No, but it was look for anyone who's watching this rather than listening. It's nice to see her. She is just such a cutie.
I'll
So
take
of
like 5 minutes being like, she's asleep. Shall we re-record the
course she
call?
will. Of course she will. Have a great day, Zoe. Thank you so much for squeezing in the time to see us. So, for anyone who doesn't know already, you can find lots of online resources for wellness and ways to calm your nervous system at restandrise.uk. And obviously, please do share this podcast with any friends you think might be interested. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
And sign up for our newsletter via the website because we've got lots of in-person events coming up over spring
Yes,
and into summer now. We've even started planning into summer dates. So
we
you've got
have.
to see some of
Yeah,
you there.
absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.